election into the humanitarian.
I'm sorry, could everyone please state the name and the title?
Sure. My name is Lakshmi Challa. I'm an immigration attorney. I've been practicing for close to 17 years. And I was so glad that the rabbi gave us the humanitarian perspective as to why immigration is important for all of us during this debate. I want to shift gears a little bit, and I want to talk about the economic benefit. Because notwithstanding what your personal ideals may be about immigrants or immigration, the bottom line is it's great for the economy. And interestingly enough, if you look at the number of startups, almost in Silicon Valley, 52% of the startups in Silicon Valley were started by one or more immigrants. If you look at it on a national level, it's almost 25%. When they looked at numbers within the past 2 years, they found that these numbers are dropping. Within the past year, the Silicon Valley startups have now dropped to 43.9%. And so this is really critical because most of these startups have, drive jobs. They fuel the economy in a number of different ways. Another avenue that is really critical for our economic growth is all the brain drain we've been experiencing. I am special counsel to the Attorney General, so we represent all the universities in the state of Virginia, and the issue becomes you have these brilliant scientists and researchers coming to the United States, and typically when they come to the United States, they come in a competitive, through a very competitive process. So you're talking about the creme de la creme. And currently there is no real quick avenue for us to retain these scientists in the United States. So a lot of them are now departing. I think they questioned about 1,270 individuals that had left and went back to their home country. And they asked him, one of the reasons was citing, immigration, the fallen immigration policy. So we're hoping that the immigration reform bill will address some of these things, because clearly it functions as a tool to foster, innovation. It functions as a tool to, really foster investment into the United States. And it's not surprising when you look at the poll in Virginia, given our demographic and the way Virginia is changing and growing, that there's overwhelming support for immigration. Let me give you a couple of poll results to illustrate. When asked, whether their bipartisan immigration reform legislation being debated in Washington, whether they would support or oppose the bill, 32% of the females said they'd strongly support the bill, and 32% of the males said that they'd strongly support the bill. And you had somewhat support at 27% and 34%. And so you can see that among gender there is a slight, it seems slightly more, well, it's even on this, but overall it seems like more women support the bill than men. When you look at the age demographic of those who strongly support the bill, 39% of those between the ages of 36 and 50 support it. And within the ethnicities, you have pretty much strong support throughout. The question, which I think, and why this is all very critical, is you have, and quite frankly, the reason why we had, there's been some fuel for the immigration reform has been the last election. So you've got immigration reform, you've got politicians that are debating this and perhaps willing to see the other side because they're concerned about their constituents and votes. So this poll is really significant because it really outlines what the support is throughout the Commonwealth and how that may affect elections. So to the question, do you support or oppose, to the question, would you more likely or less likely vote for an elected official who votes for this legislation? When they divided it up by gender, you had 63% of the females saying most likely. And you had likely to vote for an elected official who votes for this legislation. And when you look at race and ethnicity, again, you're looking at very high numbers. And the interesting thing is when you look at party affiliation, you have 69% of those would most likely vote for an official who votes for this legislation. So I think that Virginia has clearly spoken that and as it is throughout the United States, I think on a national level, you have 84% support for immigration, and then out of that, with the Republicans, I think it's 70-some%. And those numbers increase if you add a few provisions on there for border security and E-Verify. So there's a strong, overwhelming support for immigration. Right now in our current economy, I think it's very critical, because I've always said the 3 I's of economic development are innovation, investment, and immigration. And to think that they function in silos is ridiculous. The immigration component is actually the driver for making sure that the United States is still, the hub of innovation. And immigration is a tool that allows foreign companies